Aloha everyone and welcome to another Tinker's Academy Electro Healing video. I'm your host Kay Elmer, and in this video I'd like to share with you a great conversation we just had about Brown's gas. It actually was the first Brown's gas webinar we've ever held with Ben from H2 Biohacker, and the topic of the webinar was testimonials. You know, what are people experiencing? What are we hearing about folks that are using Brown's gas and how it's helping them with different things? So we thought we'd just put this together, invite some folks from the chat group. And sure enough, we had a small group, but we learned some really interesting things from each other. And I think it's just a great way to kind of learn about, different ways you could use Brown's gas to help you with your health and wellness. So before we jump into the webinar, I do want to do a disclaimer, make sure everyone's, keeping all the government agencies happy here. The information in this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen. And never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on the internet. The Tinker's Academy does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned in this video. Reliance on any information covered is solely at your own risk. All right, so what did we talk about today? Well, it was testimonials. So this is Brown's gas. We cover that in the webinar, just a quick, brief introduction, and we really hit on how Brown's gas is helping people. What is Ben hearing from his customers? And a couple of us in the webinar chimed in with our own experiences about helping with sports recovery, pain relief, helping with skin, helping with, actually its effects on dreams, its effects on meditation, and it effects on sickness and illness. So I want you to know that if you're, any of these things kind of fall into your category, we did cover it and how Brown's gas works with that. So I really hope you enjoy the discussion. I did, and I just want to say thank you to Ben from H2 Biohacker. Thank you for the folks that participated. Really appreciate your time and interest and overall just joining in on helping our community here learn more about it, because the best way to learn is from each other. So thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the webinar now. And if you want to learn more about Brown's gas, I've got a page on my blog. This is the Tinker's Academy. All the links, by the way, for all the stuff that we talk about will be in the video description below. So at the Tinker's Academy, there's a whole page dedicated to Brown's gas and all the different videos I've done on it, all the different information, everything from the Yale Brown patents and you name it. And then also, too, there's over at Telegram, we have an H2 or HHO, which is also Brown's gas, the Telegram chat group that I just mentioned. So there's a link there to join it if you want to ask questions, learn more about Brown's gas, and or get a hold of Ben, get a hold of other folks out there in the industry that are selling Brown's gas generators. So it's a great webinar. Again, thank you to everybody that participated. And here we go. Let's start the webinar. All right. Well, everybody, welcome to the first ever Brown's gas user webinar. We've just got a few folks interested in talking about Brown's gas, learning about Brown's gas, focused primarily on user testimonials and what we the community have learned about using and experimenting and trying out Brown's gas. And today we've got Ben from H2 Genesis on to kind of walk through what he's been learning and some of the testimonials he's gotten from his customers. And so we're open to questions, and we'll just go from there. But this is the first ever Brown's gas webinar for people that want to use it, and we're thinking about having it once a month for people that want to jump in, ask questions as they get their machines and try them out and want to tinker around. So welcome Ben, and welcome Mandy and Ema. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. It's the first one, so I think we're making history, I hope. But anyway, hey Ben, good morning or good afternoon. And so how you doing?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm here. Good, very good. Ironically, as we're setting up the meeting here, the testimonials, one of my clients was just riding his mountain bike down. I mean, I live out in the jungle in Costa Rica currently, back between US and Costa Rica, I travel. But now more days than not, I'm in Costa Rica. So I'm out in the jungle. And one of my clients that is a healing center on the back roads from where I live, a few miles away, he just rides by on his mountain bike, and I'm like, hey, you got any quick testimonials to give me? I mean, what are your thoughts as he's passing by as we're about to start this? But yeah, so I'll tell you some of his stories in a minute as well. But it's a coincidence.
Cool. All right. So Let's start off with, like for anyone that's just going to pop in and hear this video, I think like if we could do a quick, like, we've done other videos, by the way. I'll put all the links in the video description, prior interviews, background, things like that. But just could you give us a 5 minute for anyone who's new to Brown's Gas, 5 minutes, real quick, like what is it? and in like, what's your elevator speech when someone says, well, you make what kind of generators? What's your elevator speech for this? How would you explain it to someone that never heard about it before?
Um, I start with mostly the hydrogen because there's so much research already out there, and that's what has the most um, I guess research and scientific papers done on is just hydrogen in general. There's a lot of information out there already. So once you get into the hydrogen, and it's easy to pull up those kind of studies and testimonials, and then from there I go into, okay, well, we're kind of experimenting and moving not necessarily past that, but there may be additional benefits to Brown's gas. And I guess the way you define Brown's gas is well, mostly, I mean, the newer hydrogen generated machines, they use a proton exchange membrane without an electrolyte in the mix. So the traditional Brown's gas generators use a pure electrolyte, water with a very alkaline type, powder like sodium hydroxide. And so there's a lot of free space in between the electrolytes in there. Instead of there's water, liquid in there, the electrolyte mix, instead of the special membrane made by DuPont. That membrane allows you to separate the oxygen and hydrogen. But with brown gas, that's not the case. All the gases are just made in the same liquid medium at the same time. So that's the main difference. And it's, we theorize in the community, and it's been, like I said, in some studies done. There's a lot of experiments still need to be done, but a lot of us suspect that there's some additional benefits to Brown's gas, made using the electrolyte mix rather than the proton exchange membrane, which separates the hydrogen and oxygen. We can go on in more detail later.
Yeah, so I
But
actually have the diagram up on the screen. So what you're looking
mhm,
at, folks, is a typical hydrogen generator which produces hydrogen gas. There's what they call a proton exchange membrane, or a PEM membrane between the two rods that are being, during an electrolysis process. So hydrogen comes off one side on the cathode, and oxygen comes off the other side on the anode. And this is your typical way to create hydrogen. So every hydrogen machine out there, right? This is how it's set up on the inside, and then you're breathing out the hydrogen. And then if you and some machines will actually have a port where they're pumping out oxygen, so you can actually pull off both gases. Otherwise, they're just gassed out the back of the machine, and you're just getting hydrogen. So now what the difference is, and this is my old video. I'm just trying to find the slide, right, as you were talking about. Just like yourself, I had to make my own slide. So where is it?
mhm.
I know it's in here somewhere. I remember making it the the way that
We
you
also got
made
an
it
image
there,
on
right
our
there. Yeah, and then
homepage of our website too.
so here's the difference. So you want to explain the difference then? Now, so what happens, Ben, if you don't have that proton exchange membrane in the electrolysis process? And that's Brown's
Yeah,
gas, right?
maybe pull up. Right, exactly. I've got a more specific image that may show some of the details on our homepage, an image.
Oh,
If you want
sure.
to pull that up, it's basically what you've got here
Okay.
with
Let
a
me go
little
ahead and
bit
go to your home.
here more details.
Okay. No, just so we know, so that way everybody kind of gets a kind of an idea. So like this guy right here.
Right there.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like very simplified, diagram, but it's basically the same thing. But in addition to what may make Brown's gas difference is what some people call electrically expanded water, or ionized water, or water molecule charged with two extra electrons. And what that does, it seems, is the two hydrogen, instead of having that angle, 102, 3, 4 degrees, whatever it is, that angle, it expands more, and the water becomes more, the molecule becomes more linear. Those extra electrons push the hydrogen, which are positive, away from each other. And in that state of water, when it's charged like that, the hydrogen atoms are further apart from each other, it's theorized that that can actually be a gaseous form of water, and so that will, in like shown in this diagram, that's only created in a liquid state. That doesn't seem to be created in a machine with the proton exchange membrane. So that's an additional benefit. But what we theorize that may be happening is that the extra electrons charge into the water molecule. It's not super stable. Um, there's a specific name for that that's in a document we'll link to as well. But the electrons will later possibly release inside the body, which give additional electrons to the body for healing. And the effect of that is similar to what some people call earthing or grounding, mm-hmm. which naturally the earth has an electrical charge. And it's also theorized that the trees and life and all that are the electron, because the atmosphere and clouds above us are more positively charged, the ground is negatively charged, that creates that difference in potential. And the things closer or higher up in the sky, they are able to draw up the electrons from the ground. So if we evolved as a species, touching the ground, walking on our bare feet, on the ground, which is conductive, we're absorbing much more electrons.
Right.
And so it's theorized that these extra electrons may be helping people, and that's why some of these grounding and earthing techniques and modalities may benefit as well.
Okay. All right, there you go. Hey, I don't know if there's anyone, Ema or Mandy, if you had a question about any of this before we jump into testimonials. Okay, just let me know if you want to jump in. Okay, so that sort of explains the difference. You got a regular H2 generator, oxygen and hydrogen only, and you've got a Brown's gas generator. You take out that membrane and you've got hydrogen, oxygen, and you've got this additional output, which is referred to as expanded or electrically expanded water gas. And there's actually really interesting, I think at the 2019 water conference, there was a discussion about whether or not this gas would also possibly be what Pollack believes is structured water, or the fourth phase of water, right? So it's some real interesting stuff, but we won't get too much into that, the science of it.
It could be. One last thing to mention on this topic is if you jump to the H2 Genesis page, there's a link to that document which it goes into more details on a study in a spectral analysis, exactly the plasma orbital.
For anyone interested, I'll put a link to this document. It's also on Ben's website. And it really talks a lot about what Ben just described, which is the angular bond connections between the hydrogen atoms and what happens when the extra electrons affect the water molecule. And it's just really amazing that a water molecule in this state has different properties, just because it's the same combination, H2O, but when it's got extra electrons, what happens when you take in this molecule? Those I guess the theory, right, Ben, is that the extra electrons immediately because it's unstable, go into your body. So you get kind of like you're basically drinking electrons, right?
Right, in a way. Which and then it seems like it's only stable. This molecule is only stable in, I think they call it a Reisenberg cluster or something like that. So along with other O2 and H2 atoms or molecules, really, these molecules can only stay stable amongst themselves in the way they were created, kind of like a gel. But once they start touching other tissues and come in contact with other molecules and substances, they quickly break down and release their electrons.
Yeah, plasma water. There you go. Okay, well, that's really, really fascinating stuff. Okay, so let's jump into, I guess the discussion today was going to revolve around just the different. I think you've got just. By the way, this is Ben's website, and he's got a really good section here on research, tons of different papers, as well as a section over here on testimonials. So feel free that if you're interested in learning more, Ben's website is just a treasure trove of information. So I'll go ahead, Ben. Why don't you just go ahead and take over and just share with us. Like what are people using your product, which is a Brown's gas generator? What are they using it for, and how, and what are their results? You want me to go to the testimonial page, or whatever?
Yeah, well, actually, the audio testimonials there, people can jump in here and listen to them later, but they're actually given to me by a friend of mine who just rode by on his mountain bike I just mentioned earlier. So I quickly asked him, so what are the main takeaways that you would like to share with us that you experienced? What's the most notable things you've experienced? And because he was a pro tennis player back in his 20s, also mountain biking and biking, racing, all that kind of stuff. Really like an athlete. Um, and he says the biggest thing, the first thing he said was like recovery. He's like, he's 50 years old now. Me and him about the same age. We grew up, in Atlanta for a while together. But he tells me the main thing that he noticed is recovery. He's like, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. I mean, that really stuck out with me. He's like, because he knows his body and he trains like an athlete. So he's riding his bike up and down the mountains here in Costa Rica on these, dirt roads. And he's like, I can recover now like I was back in my 20s. He's like, that's huge. He's like, he's got a new life, because of that. He's like, he wasn't bad before, but he feels like he's young again. So he's excited about getting out there and exercising and doing more. So, and this is, I think, a common theme that's going to come up in some of these testimonies is like, it makes you younger. It makes you feel younger. You can do more things. With the same body, you got your old young body back again.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It all comes down to electrons, but there's a little bit. There's more though. That's what we don't know about Brown's gas yet. Is that it's more than just Brown's gas. I mean, just electrons, free electrons. It's more than just hydrogen and oxygen. But
right.
yeah, because you're saturating your body with hydrogen and oxygen, and yeah.
Right. In this case, he also mentioned within a couple of days after starting it, some of his achy joints went away. He had, a shoulder problem, an elbow problem. Those, weird aches went away really quickly. Within the first few days, he's like, wow, he's thinking, is this a coincidence or what? But that's one of the, hearing back from a lot of clients, that's one of the first things they mentioned. He's like, Ben, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but, just, 1 or 2 days after using it, this ache in my shoulder or knee or wrist, it's gone away. But I would say it's a coincidence, hearing it from one person, but when I hear it from 4, 5, 6 people, it's becoming more common. So it's something to consider.
Okay, so you want to kind of you want to go down this list, or did you have kind of like your own notes about?
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got a few that are not written down here yet, so okay. It'd be good to save those that are written down for people to look at later. And
sure.
I've got a couple interesting new ones that I haven't added yet. I'll mention. Another friend of mine here who, again, he had some early aches and pains go away. He's one that I mentioned there that he uses a heart math. He's into the heart rate variability. Biofeedback type of stuff.
Yeah.
He said he was never able to get a reading back that he was in a coherent state. But until he started using or inhaling the Brown's gas, the hydrogen with our machine. So he was like really excited about that he was trying to make progress, say mentally and spiritually. And that was part of, what he was wanting to do. And he was finally able to, make progress in that, in his meditations and so on. So that was interesting. But not too long ago, I run into him. He's like, Ben, you're not going to believe this. He's like, he was so excited. But he's also into ozone therapy as well. But and anything anti-aging, because he's like, I want to say he's close to 80 years old now, 70 something, maybe 80. But he's like so much energy, going to the gym and doing all these things, more energy than most people. Doesn't stop. But so so what he just told me the other day is like, I just went to the barber the other day, same woman I've been going to that's been cutting my hair for 10 years, and he says like, hey, he's like, what are you doing to your hair, or what are you doing these days? Because it seems like your hair is coming in darker. Like he was all white, all gray. And he's like, the same, I didn't tell this person anything. She cuts my hair for 20 years, and she just mentioned that my hair is coming in darker. I mean, you can tell. I mean, his hair does look darker now, too. He's like, something I'm doing is working. Wow. And he's been, for the last 6 to 8 months, he's been using the machine pretty regularly.
Okay, so how much does he use the machine? I want to know. Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but I would think, I mean, he didn't tell me, but what he's told me before is it seems like he does it every day. At least, once a day. It's part of his, routine or ritual. It's fairly easy, I find. It's one of the easiest, I guess, supplements or health beneficial things you can do. I find just because it's so easy. You're sitting at a desk, you're laying down, you're relaxing, you're sitting down, watching something on TV or reading or laying down the rest. You just plug in and put the cannula on and flip on the machine, start breathing it. It's much easier than making up a smoothie, even
Oh
or
yeah,
getting
yeah.
the
It's
glass,
the
putting some
perfect.
powder mix in there. Nothing to wash or clean up afterwards.
Yeah.
It's so easy to use. So I when I follow up with people, I find people are really still using it because they do see a benefit and they use it every day because it's so simple and easy to keep up with.
It is definitely the lazy person's health remedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Or desk jockey, because I'm a desk jockey sitting at a computer up to 10 hours a day, longer sometimes, and I'm plugged in most of the time, into my jetting. But yeah, I just want to let you know. I just want to
Right.
say on a sidebar for anyone who's listening to this video and is not aware that Ben has started a Telegram chat group on Brown's gas, also known as HHO. We also discuss hydrogen, O3 therapies, and also structuring water because it's all related. It's all about water and gases, health gases. So it's on Telegram, and I just want to point out that what you just said. There's been folks that have jumped in because this thing. I think our chat group's been going on for I don't know about a year maybe now, but I remember reading, if we go through the history of the chat group, there's another gentleman came in and posted that his hair also he had gotten a generator and his hair was also getting darker, and he was an older gentleman. So it's not a
Mm-hmm.
one-off claim. When there's been at least two that I know of for sure, folks that are actually experiencing that. And for me personally,
Yeah.
God, I don't have to worry about it yet. But it'd be interesting to see if I retain my dark hair as I get older. But yeah, that's really amazing. But yeah, it sounds
And I mean,
crazy though, doesn't it? Though.
I get comments on my skin as well, and I was just with another client in town recently, and a public place, and someone that she hadn't seen in several years, 3 or 4 years, comes up to her. He's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Talking to my client, I didn't know this person. He's like, the first thing he says, like, "Wow, you look wonderful. What are you doing?" And then we were just talking about the machine and how we've been using it and all that, and he comes up and say, "Wow, you look great. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in 3 or 4 years, and you look better than ever." And so we both looked at each other and laughed. But you know that was another coincidence maybe, but it happens again and again, those kind of stories.
Yeah. In fact, right when you'd stepped away for a second, Mandy, if you want to share, she was talking about her bagging experience. So I don't know if you wanted to share that. I mean, I've only done bagging when I had a burn, and to help heal the burn faster. Actually, it took the pain away. It didn't. I noticed that when I bagged my burn, I burnt my hand. The pain
Mm-hmm.
went away really quickly, and it never hurt again after
Right.
that for like the whole time it was healing.
Yeah, that's
So I
my,
didn't
my
notice
my
that I
son
didn't.
had the
Yeah, I
same
didn't see it
experience.
heal faster, but the pain was gone. And then Mandy
Right, exactly.
talking about her.
That's my notes as well.
Yeah, Mandy, did you want to share your story about your skin and using
Sure.
house gas?
So, yeah, the other night I um, got a garbage bag and I basically bagged my whole leg. Um, Back when I was a teenager, I had a skiing incident. Um, and through the years, I'm 50 now, um, with, excess, stress on my knee, it would sometimes get swollen, but then it would go away. Well, lately, um, my knee's been kind of swollen for the last 4 years. And I'm really stubborn. I'm not going to go to mainstream medicine. And it really doesn't hurt. It's just, it looks terrible because it's, swollen. The only time it really hurts is if I've, overextended or stood too long or worked too hard or whatever, or if the dog runs into my leg. But it's tender, but not really sore. But then also my foot, I've got a Morton's neuroma on my right leg, my foot there. And there was also a sore spot in the middle of my calf. I don't see anything there. It just was sore. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to bag my whole leg. And I did that for probably an hour, hour and a half maybe. And first of all, and I also have really dry, cracked heels from, I think, thyroid issues. And my foot was just baby soft. Well, all my skin on my leg was just baby soft and felt so good. The pain was gone. I was like, wow, okay, I'm gonna have to do this more often. This was really nice. And yeah, so
Awesome.
yeah,
Are you gonna get one of those bags? Like, Ben, you were gonna start selling bags, right? But yeah, if for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically you just literally take a bag that you would use for taking a shower if you had a cast, right? And you stick the hose in there and just fill her up.
It's really,
Keep away
it's
from
almost really not worth selling, because what I find what works best are the bags, the plastic clear bags you get in the produce section of your
Oh,
grocery store.
okay.
Those are the right size. You can see through them. You can see if any humidity and water is collected in there, which is not a bad thing to me. So, it's getting in there and condensing. And so you can see how close, where the tube is, where the end is. But that's the easiest way to back up your hand or your foot and something like that. The elbows and shoulders and knees are a little bit more difficult. And actually, my mother's a seamstress. She sews as well, and she's actually working on a prototype right now that I want to use for my shoulder, which is basically a sleeve, and it'll be gathered with elastic on both sides in a kind of in a waterproof cloth that you'll be able to slip onto your elbow, your shoulder, your knee. And I'm going to be testing that shortly as well. I've tried it with bags. You can make a hole in the bag I just mentioned, so you can make it into a sleeve, but that becomes more difficult because you got to close up two ends, and it's kind of like it makes sounds and it's crinkly and it's not as convenient. But on this new system we're working on, I think it's going to be much better. I also found that external issues applying it. I got a funnel I put on my shoulder to help it, but if it's a larger area, I mean, I found that the area I put it on, it works great and really quickly, but it doesn't get the whole joint all around the joint is what you really need to get a good result and feedback. So that's something we're working on. We'll probably sell that on our website and make it available soon as well.
Yeah, we're kind of joking around a little bit with Mandy this week because Mandy, you want to share the idea that you had, and then when we heard it, we're like, no. But yeah, go ahead, share the idea because in case anyone's thinking this, yeah,
don't do it. It's like, well, that was probably the best thing is knowing, oh, good, the universe does have my back. All right. So yeah, I've got decades of adrenal thyroid issues. So there's just various pieces and parts of me that just need attention, from my hair to my scalp to the tips of my toes. And so I got the brilliant idea that, oh, I should just get a hazmat suit and pipe the gas in, or something like that. And then the conversation turned to maybe a tent. And so we looked up personal saunas, and I was like, oh yeah, instead of a light or steam, we could just pipe the gas into the tent. Great idea. And I was like, should I message the guys and see if this is a good idea? And I was like, no, I think I'm just going to do it and then post my results. And about that time, I popped onto the group, and somebody else had I forget exactly how they phrased it, but it was something about, is it possible to do a tent or something without blowing myself up? And I was like, who? And so I followed the conversation and joined in and realized, oh, and I had already bought the tent, mind you.
Oh wow,
I had it right here. I was mere moments away from piping gas into this thing and stepping inside.
Translate it, moments away from blowing yourself up.
So Ben, you want to you're the engineer here who builds Brown's gas generators. You want to explain what you told us, why that is not a good idea?
It's just flammable, and it's hard to control the percentage. I mean, it's in a super laboratory setting. With rats, they have special devices to monitor the percentage of the hydrogen, because over 4.7%, really over 4, I'll be worried, percent of hydrogen gas in air, it becomes flammable. So you don't want that to happen. Along those lines, I got a story to tell. I just heard recently back from a client. He got his machine, was filling it up, it ran fine, and he's putting additional water in it without the top expansion chamber on it. And so the machine was turned off, and it was just, the top of the machine was, the electrolyzer cell was, open air. So it was airing out for a little while as well. But, I guess where he is cold and walk around on the carpet with socks, you can create a charge. So just the act of touching the funnel, the plastic funnel, to the metal tip of the electrolyzer cell, it made a spark. And whatever residual hydrogen was in there, it may even be the electrically expanded water, because you would think the hydrogen would escape pretty quickly. But regardless, I mean, that little spark, he said, and he noted it, that triggered an explosion and just a really loud pop. I mean, it didn't hurt anything, nothing break. The machine was fine, but it's both scared them, and it's like just a wake up call. It's like, you really got to be careful when you're dealing with this. And so, I mean, we're updating our documents again to help people to be more careful and in not even pour in water once the machine has been turned off. Let it air out more. Maybe find a way to blow out any gases that may be remaining in there, and don't touch a funnel directed to the metal top. Maybe pour it only through the top cylinder expansion chamber that's on the top, to create a little bit more distance and give the gases time to diffuse. But that was pretty amazing hearing that story.
Bonus points to the universe for saving my butt. It's winter here in Northern Illinois, and we get a lot of static electricity. So
right, exactly. That's gonna be definitely watchful.
So what would be so obviously you don't want to tent yourself like a sauna up to your neck and then create this giant gas bubble. But so you're saying that hydrogen is flammable if it's more than 4% of the volume of the gas. More than 4%
right.
is hydrogen, then it becomes flammable. And so the generators are designed so that they don't go up that high. But then if you fill up a space, then it's going to get higher, right? But the generator's output is not flammable. Is that correct, or not?
Right. Well, the generator's output, I mean, is pure, hydrogen, oxygen gas for the most part.
Okay, so it's
so that's how brown torches are made. Right. Brown gas torches are made of these type of devices.
It's flammable.
But the coming out at the end, it is super concentrated and flammable. But the idea is to find or to get below that official 4.7% hydrogen in the air mixture with what you're breathing. I mean, ideally, you would calculate the volume of your lungs, how many breaths you take per minute, so how many liters of air you're breathing per minute, and then you can adjust the volume of the gas from the machine using the control panel in most machines. So you can get below that, ideally, 4%. I mean, even at 1% and 2%, we get you can feel it. You can get a therapeutic dose, 2 or 3% even.
So that's why you don't want to be feeling at 100%, right?
Right. It comes out 100%, but what you breathe, as long as it's mixed with air, it quickly. Right. I mean, just like an inch from the nozzle, from even a torch, if you were using a brown gas torch, an inch or so from the nozzle, it's no longer flammable because it's mixed and diffusing to the air so much.
Yeah. Okay. So
you want to keep your lungs at a below flammable, density of.
Yeah. So you want whatever's in your lungs, you want to make sure you're getting air along with the brown gas, right? So that what's inside your lungs the whole idea is a mix of air. Right, is a mix of air and okay. So then if you
which is why you don't want to do a face mask. You never want to use a face mask and have them
yeah, that's right, because we had I know that we had somebody jump in once and said that they connected their Brown's gas generator to their CPAP, and you were like, don't do that. Right? Okay, so and that's because don't do that because in the face mask. Well, but they're still breathing in and out, though. Wouldn't the mixture of air and Brown's gas still, or is it do you think it would accumulate too much in the CPAP mask?
Yeah, the face mask prevents normal air from mixing in as quickly as it would as if you use it compared to a cannula, for example. Right. The cannula, it just goes right up to your nose, so when you breathe in, there's so little hydrogen, but you're sucking in a majority of fresh air into your lungs.
Right.
So it quickly disperses and becomes inflammable.
Okay.
So without having to do a whole lot of math, what's the quick way to know what to have your settings on and how much you're getting?
What I've come to the conclusion of that the easiest way is really just, and this is what I got this as a note in my talk too. I was going to mention, more is not better and less is more. Nowadays, I'm using the machine on just 20% power. You can go to 100%. And another client contacted recently was saying, Ben, I'm starting to dry out. My lungs hurt a little bit. As my sinuses are drying out. Like, what's going on? Like, what percentage power are you using it on? Like 100%. I'm like, oh my God, that's not a good idea. Like, I don't know where you got that idea, but and everything we write and tell, it's like, no, that's way too high for one person to breathe. So the idea is to start low, and so if you can feel an effect, then you're good, because the body saturates really quickly between and within 20 minutes you're usually at a small amount. Your hydrogen is your body saturated with the hydrogen. So 20-40% at most if you just want to do it for a short period of time, an individual. But really, 10-20%. And actually, the person that was just riding by, he noticed the same thing. He's like, Ben, I can still feel it, the effects at 20%. So I'm like, keep it there, because you'll save water. The electrolyte cell will heat up less, so it'll throw out less water vapor. Your distilled water will last longer. The gases coming out will be cooler. It'll be much more pleasant to breathe, and less likely that any contaminants will be spit out as well from the machine. And it's a lot less drying and much more pleasant at a lower percentage. And you still get the same effect, and a lot of things you think more is better. In some cases that may be the case, but in this case it's definitely not the case. Definitely keep your...
What if you're doing, if you're just doing bagging a limb or something, do you want to have less is more, or do you want to kick it up a little bit?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a little bit different story. I would go as much as 80% in those cases, because you're not, it's not going into your sinus membranes, and it won't be as drying. And if it does throw out a little bit of extra water, it's not a bad thing, because that'll keep your tissues moist as well.
Okay.
So I still wouldn't do 100%. If maybe out for a short period of time, as much as 80 externally, like for a half hour, at most an hour. But in my experience, if you want to do it longer time, for a few hours on a limb, 40-50% power with our machine is probably just as fine.
So my husband bought some pieces and parts, because we have a 3-gallon carboy, and we were thinking of running another tube and grommet and air stone and all that into that, because I'm trying to get enough water in the little drinking container for him to water all of his plants would take forever. Right. So we thought, well, if we get run it into the hose and everything into the lid of a 3-gallon carboy, can we still have the machine can do that, right? I can have 3.
Yeah, that would be fine. In those cases, you could just crank it up for plants and stuff like that, and animals. You could crank it up higher, 80, 90, 100% in a large volume, a few gallons of water. Attach an air stone directly to a long hose and hook it up directly. Hook it up to the second bubbler on our machine. You can hook a silicone or vinyl hose directly to the second bubbler there. Skip the whole drinking container. Connect your air stone and put that into your water you want to bubble or hydrogenate or oxygenate with ground gas.
Would it be okay? So if I've got he bought one of the little things that's got you've got the 2 whatchamacalls on there for the cannulas. He bought one that's got
the air splitter.
Yeah, the 3. The splitter. He got one that's 3, so I could have I could be breathing it. It could go in, that into the drinking water, and then the third hose to go into his bottle. What would I put the setting on if I'm breathing it, going into the drinking water, and going into the carboy?
Right. That's a good question. If you're going to use the air splitter at all, it's really only good. I would don't using the air splitter. I would only use it when you want two people to breathe at the same time. For any other use case, I would plug in directly to the second bubbler, especially if you want to bubble a few gallons of water. You want to do a lot more, and you need a lot more pressure for that. So you want to just do that. To use a three-way air splitter to breathe bubble water, it's just not going to work. Just the pressure in the water will keep bubbles from going down and coming up through the air stone if the other side of or if one of the passageways of the hose with the air splitter is open. The air is going to take the path of least resistance. So it's too much. It needs too much pressure to go down and bubble up through the air stone. It's going to take the path of least resistance and go out the unobstructed flow of the hose and the tube of the cannula.
Okay, so like if I cranked it up to 100%, the carboy's still not going to get all that it needs, and I'm going to get overdosed.
Right. Yeah. You're not breathing all day, I would assume. So you're better off just running it at 90, 100% for half hour on the water you want to use for your plants or animals.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because honestly, it's just you just take this plastic drinking container and you replace it with your carboy. So this tube right here with the stone would go into the bottom of the carboy full of water, and then coming off the top right here of the carboy, right? You just would drill two holes like it in the cork.
Well, you don't even do that. I mean,
and then you can just do
open.
Hose. Yeah, you just breathe off the top.
A hose coming out of the second bubbler, connect to an air stone, and just plop the air stone into whatever water you want to bubble it through.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a sealed container.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even easier then.
Yeah, I was thinking of
doing that as well. Much easier.
I was thinking of doing that same thing with getting having the second bubbler go into a water bottle, and then instead of because I don't have this thing, and then just breathing off the top of the bottle, so that whenever I wanted to drink, it hadn't been sitting for a while. Because if it sits for a while, right, the gas diffuses. So that way I'd get a full saturated water every time I drink, because I'm breathing through my drinking water, right? And that would work. I just got to figure out how to do it.
The only reason and the best reason to use this drinking container that you see in the picture right here is so that you can fill it with water, bubble it through there. It forces the gas through the water, comes out, and then two people can breathe it. If you're in a rush, you don't have much time, you've got water ready to drink, and you've just done a session of say 20, 30 minutes, and you've got water ready to drink right after you've breathed it. So it's like a 2-for-1. But if you've got more time, you're around the machine more often or home more often, then it's just as easy or well to do one or the other. You can remove this drinking container completely, connect your cannula if you're just one person to the second bubbler, or connect your air stone to that second bubbler for just doing water for drinking, even if you just want to drink water and not breathe.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, the container's kind of small. I was like, I wonder if I could put it in like one of my gallon or half-gallon glass jars. That's the other thing is I was wanting to get it into a glass container that's larger.
Right, exactly. I do the same thing. From the second bubbler, I run a stretch of tubing that's connected to an air hose and just drop that into a mason glass jar. And that's how I usually do my water.
Do you still have an open lid on that, or
right?
Also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much easier and convenient just to keep an open lid. I mean, under pressure, you get a little bit more hydrogen dissolved in there, but it's really not worth the hassle. I mean, you get enough benefit, I find, just having an open container and plopping the air stone in there. Plus, with glass, you don't want to have it pressurized anyways, especially with any hydrogen, free or exclusively in that open space in there. If that ignites, the glass will explode. So you never want to close glass container. That's why that drinking container we do use is plastic. In worst case, if something happened, that the top would pop off there.
Right. Good
But I
point.
mean, some people don't like drinking from plastic. So what I tell them to do is just connect the second bubbler to the air stone, drop the air stone in a glass jar of water, open top, and you can bubble it there for 10, 20, 30 minutes, however you like. And it works
Okay.
just as well.
So
Okay.
Ben, the conversation here is sort of focusing on
Yeah,
testimonials,
drifted.
but
Yeah, no,
no,
we
no,
back it
I'm
up.
really glad you covered this because we're talking about two ways to use Brown's gas. One is breathing, and we've
Oh
talked
yeah,
a
yeah.
few of the
So important.
a few of the benefits of breathing. But now let's talk about the water because thanks to Mandy, she's brought it up. So let's talk about what are the benefits, or do you even see a different benefit from drinking water that had the gas bubbled in it? Right? Because there's two ways you can take in
Um,
gas in water that's bubbled
yeah,
or breathing. So, do you
right.
see
I do
any
have that in my notes.
testimonials? Okay, let me pop over. Like, what are the testimonials? Because you've got, I guess this is your
Yeah,
friend from Costa Rica, right? So he's like made some recordings, and you've mentioned,
right.
which is like meditation, sports recovery, which is awesome stuff. So on the website, you can go and check out these testimonials, and then. So do you have any that are like people drinking the water and they're all of a sudden realizing that wow, this water's more satiating or it's more hydrating or anything like that?
Definitely more hydrating. Between me and my family and people I talk to, my wife here as well. It seems like if you are needing more water, if you are dehydrated, and you do drink this water, you're less likely to have to go to the bathroom soon afterwards. It seems like the water assimilates better into your body and tissues than if you drank regular tap water, spring water, any other alternative water. The water seems to stay inside you until you've, I guess, refilled your reserves internally. Um, so that's a common theme. It seems to hydrate better. Also, my wife is nursing right now too. She produces more milk when for the baby when she drinks this
Interesting.
water as compared to other water. Um, in sports, it does help, hydrate yourself faster, which translates to just more energy, more endurance. My friend Brian, who put those audio testimonials on there, he mentions that. Something I noticed with drinking the water is that, I'll drink before I go to bed sometimes, and then also I'll breathe during the night. But I have noticed that when I drink the water before bed, my sleep is deeper, and when I breathe, either before bed or while sleeping, my dreams are more active. So the water affects more your physical body, which kind of makes sense. It goes into your stomach and then maybe spread from there. Whereas breathing it, inhaling it, affects more your mind and mental state, which makes sense as well because it's going right up through your nasal passage and it can pass the blood-brain barrier really easily. Being a hydrogen, smallest molecule, there is H2. Um, so those are both. So you get very different benefits from both. So we do definitely recommend drinking the water and breathing it.
Yep.
So I think I noticed something. I'm not sure if this is related or not, but my list of videos to watch is really, really long since joining all these Telegram groups.
Right.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to watch them on, a faster playback speed. But I couldn't do it because I'm like, I can't make sense of what they're saying when I've got it going even just a little bit faster. Last night, for the first time, I was like, I'm going to try it again. And I put this guy on 2 times speed and I listened to the whole video that way. And it made complete sense. And I'm like,
Yep.
I was also
Yeah,
doing the Brown's gas at the time. I was like, I wonder if the gas is like making my cognitive functions like be able to pick things up quicker. Because I would
that's
never been
super
able to listen to
interesting.
videos this fast.
Yeah, that's super interesting. You mentioned that because I've noticed the same thing. I've got no patience for slow video or slow talking people either. So I always watch my informational videos on 2x. Sometimes I wish there was 3x. But as far as one, so along those lines affecting your mental state, I do notice like it clears up mental fog. You get sharper, quicker. It just, I mean, especially for me, one way to notice is what's going on in your mind is just the dreams too. I mean, because that as you're sleeping, your dream's more active. That tells you your mind's more active, and it's getting in there and doing something in your brain. That's a good thing. It's just things just stay more active, and then your brain is processing things faster. That's got to be what's happening. But another interesting thing I noticed, myself recently is I way back in high school, college, I used to play a lot more music and a lot with the flute, silver flute. I used to be good back then. Was in the New Orleans Civic Symphony when I was there for a while, for fun. And I'd lug my flute along with me, and every now and I pick it up. But it was like 5 or 6 years before, or even more than that, probably 10. I had since I played with. So like 5 years, I picked it up, and my fingers were not moving. The same musical pieces that I played before. It's like, wait, did I just lose everything? What's wrong with my mind and my fingers, my body? Nothing's moving. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of like disappointing. And then just a month or so ago, moving things around, I found my flute. I just pull it out and just try to play. I played better than ever. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, it was so obvious the difference to me. My motor skills and mental coordination and reading the music and playing it was like as smooth as it was back when I was in high school, college. I'm like, oh my God. And the main difference has been the Brown's gas and the hydrogen. And that's the only thing I could
So
but you don't just improve overnight.
So cognitive thinking and memory retention, right? That's pretty cool. Hey,
Well, and
exactly.
back to the dreaming thing. I know you had mentioned that like the first day I got it and we were in discussion, you said dreams will be next level, and I'm like, mine already are actually pretty next level. Super detailed.
Right, yeah, I remember that. And I said, yeah, you told me your dreams were like already pretty incredible. And I said, well, it'll take it to another level possibly. So what do you have to report back?
The interesting thing is every once in a blue moon, I would fly in my dreams. But like it was like maybe once every few years. Since I've had the Brown's gas machine, I've flown 3 times. I've only had the thing 4 weeks.
Wow, it's like once a week you're flying now.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's cool because I love that. I mean, I feel so good when I wake up from a sleep when I've been flying.
And man, are your arms tired? Sorry, that's an old joke. I just had to say.
But
sometimes it's not always like Superman style flying. Sometimes it's just like I rise up in the air and it's like skating. I look like I'm just skating, but it's like hovering above the earth. Sometimes it is actually flying, but it's always just, floating or being, not bound to gravity, basically.
Oh, that's odd. That is really
right.
Yeah.
I've got one more interesting mental thing to report, kind of related to that as well. That had happened to me until I started, inhaling more, especially inhaling overnight. Well, and then in talking with other friends, we agree that this is really a spiritual tool. If you want to take it to that, it's got a whole physical healing part of it, right? But there's also the mental and spiritual aspect of it, where it allows you to access new and other mental and spiritual states. And in the spiritual, I guess, realm and community, they say if you can control your dreams and lucid dream, you're that much more able to pass or make the transition if and when you do die, right? So that's part of, like, I think some people say our spiritual evolution. So in a way, I mean, me talking to others in the community, we've come to the conclusion that, hey, this maybe is a spiritual tool and can be used in those ways. But my specific experience I wanted to report on and tell you guys about is I was having twice this happened to me, a super detailed dream, lucid dream. I know what's going on. I'm looking around, I'm exploring because it's so detailed. I'm like, wow, this is a dream. This is so interesting. I'm just walking around, exploring things, looking at the details and all the intricacies of everything. It was incredible. And then something happened, and I woke up and I was back in my bed sleeping. And this happened like a number of times. And it's like I wanted to go back into that dream, but I was back in my conscious body. But I felt I didn't finish that dream. So but I was breathing the gas at the same time. But mentally, I was able to transition from being awake and without losing consciousness, go right back into the dream where I was, and focus. And my mind was that activated and awake, I think, because of the gas, the hydrogen probably, right? That goes right into your mind. But on another occasion too, I was able to transition from being awake and conscious in my body and go directly into a dream world without losing consciousness. Because what I always thought was like strange, or I always wonder what happens in between that. Where does your consciousness go in between that state of like, okay, waking, and then all of a sudden you're dreaming? What happens in that transition state? I mean, twice I was able to bridge that gap and bring my consciousness with me, and focusing on that. And I was never able to do that before.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Hey, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm trying. I would like to, as your moderator, want to kind of keep these to as close to an hour as possible. And we're planning on doing this once a month as we get more and more testimonials and experience, so that people can learn from others. So this won't be the last one, but I do want to kind of touch on a couple of things. So we've got B. Palmer's joined. So I don't know if you had any questions or you wanted to share your testimonial. I know Ema, you're on as well. Haven't heard about any testimonials. If you want to chime in, now would be great. And then you can either do through unmuting your microphone, jump in, or just ask a question in the chat or on Telegram. I'm watching that. And then while you're considering that, I was looking at your page while you were talking, Ben. And you see this, I think, this is probably so pertinent, in where we're living right now, right, in this pandemic. But here's this, this is amazing. Here is a testimonial from one of your customers that talks about feeling sick, using the Brown's gas, and boom, felt great the next day. Are you getting those kinds of, is this like a fluke, or is this like, you're getting these kinds of testimonials about the possibility of Brown's gas being a healing gas to, for when you're sick? Because so far we've talked about injuries, right? But we haven't talked about illness. So what are your thoughts there? And what's your experience with Brown's gas and illnesses?
Yeah, it's another common theme on anything respiratory, lungs and sinuses, especially colds or flus, that kind of thing. It goes away quickly. But the other thing is, if you're consistently using it, I used to get 3 or 4 colds a year. I haven't got a cold or a sniffle or any respiratory issue since I started using it. And new people to it that are either sick or they feel something coming on, they plug into the machine, just like this testimony says. This is like a common theme that say, wow, I felt a little something, I plug in, and the next day I'm fine.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So yeah, if you don't mind, we're at the top of the hour, but I'd like to share a testimonial for myself for something that happened last week. We all, every now and then, we all get food poisoning. And so my typical experience when I get food poisoning, and we've all had it, right? It's massive amounts of pain, unable to hold anything down. And it usually, for me, it always ends up lasting about 3 days. The third day is when I finally start holding solids down, and life starts getting better. But it's a 3-day horrible ordeal. And this last time, last week, I basically ate bad chicken on a Sunday night. That was what I thought would happen to me. And I'd lost a day of work on Monday. I was literally in bed the whole day. But what I was doing, though, that I realized that, I'm going to, because this is the first time it's happened to me since I had a Brown's gas generator. So I decided, well, I can't hold anything down, right? I barely drink water. And so I figured, well, you know what? But I can still breathe. Thank God.
Right,
So I decided, I was thinking,
what you could do.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, because normally you would I try to take some activated charcoal, right? But I couldn't hold it down, so I was thinking, well, I can still breathe.
Wow.
So why don't I just hook up? And I just stayed hooked up like literally the whole first day. And it was amazing because literally I was in bed all Monday. I couldn't work and nothing. And then on Tuesday morning, I made some it's ORS, right, or oral rehydration solution for myself. And I started just sipping it, and I could hold it down. I was like, wow. And I kept breathing and kept inhaling. And then by Tuesday at lunch, I tried a banana, and I could hold it down. And what was really amazing is by Tuesday night, I had a full dinner. I was sore from being in pain, but I wasn't sick anymore. And literally by Tuesday night, I had a dinner. And then by Wednesday, I was perfectly fine. And that has never, and I'm like in my later 50s, never have I ever had an experience like that. And it was just, and the
Hmm.
only thing I had done different was I was just sucking in as much Brown's gas as I could inhale. And you know what? And it was the only thing I could use.
Right.
That was what really led me to it, right? Because the only thing that was working in my body was my lungs. So that's my
Yeah, that's a
testimonial,
good point. That's
you
a
know,
really
and
good point because a
yeah,
lot of people, that's the only thing they can do. They're, can't drink, can't hold anything down. It's like you can't do anything for them, and you just got to like deal with it until we can get something down, until you can hold
right.
something down. But breathing,
Yeah.
wow, what a great
And
solution
you're
for
sitting
most,
there,
a
yeah,
lot
and
of
you're sitting there
places.
praying to God that you don't get so dehydrated you got to get an IV. That's my biggest fear, right?
Yeah,
I hate going to the
exactly. Yeah,
hospital.
good point.
And, and but it's happened where I've gotten so bad where I had to go because I was dehydrated. But yeah, that was my biggest fear. But yeah, I was like, this thing hydrates you just by breathing. And then at the same time, though, it did something that it was just amazing, which leads to this other thing about, like right here, which is your one testimonial about somebody using it for, when they feel sick. So, we're living in a pandemic right now. And I'm just thinking, wow, this is an amazing reaction that my body had to the gas when I was being attacked by some nasty bacteria, right, or some stomach
Hmm.
virus. So, and I'm thinking that, and I just also want to add that I've actually seen some of the literature coming out of China where the Chinese are using Brown's gas as a treatment for people having lung problems. Instead of putting them on ventilators, they're putting them on Brown's gas. And one study that I read, they had 50 patients that had COVID, and what they did is they put them all on Brown's gas instead of the ventilators. All 50 lived, and I think the average reduction in hospital stay was 3 to 5 days. That they were in the hospital less than the other patients who didn't. So not only did they all
Right.
live, they all got out of the hospital faster, and that was pretty amazing. So there's something
Yeah,
about
I've read
Brown's
a similar
gas
study to
and
that.
viruses that I think should be looked into.
Yeah, exactly. The study I read say most recover within 2 or 3 days. Some one,
Yeah.
two, but all of them within 3 days recovery.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. So, okay, so we're at the 1 hour mark, and I just want to say this was a great first Brown's Gas webinar. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I'll tell you what. We want to wrap it up. Ben, is there anything you want to share, and then how can people find you?
Yeah, there was a lot more testimonies I didn't get to, which is a good thing.
Amazing
So
how
that just means
fast.
we'll have to do this again next month.
Yeah, it's
But
amazing how fast an
we got
hour
we
goes.
got distracted a good bit, but we were able to get a lot of really important, I think, good information out there, especially some of the safety issues and so on. But it was a lot of, I think we got a really good call and a lot of you know packed with good information. But yeah, we may want to do this again
Yeah, I would
next
definitely
month.
like to hear
Get
more
more testing.
about different ways to use Brown's gas. We just really kind of just touched on it today. It's amazing how fast an hour goes by. Geez. But we talked about using it topically by bagging. We talked about drinking, talked about
Mhm.
pain relief, talked about sports recovery, and talked about how you can use it against a bacterial or viral infection. So pretty cool stuff. So,
Yeah.
so
Maybe next time we can go into like how we do the ozone deflation.
yeah,
What do
ozone
they call it?
insufflocation. I mean, has anyone
Yeah,
tried Brown's gas insufflocation? Okay, who
yeah.
you?
One of
I'll
my
tell you what,
clients is into that. So next
Mandy's
time we'll
our
go into that.
explorer.
We'll save it for next time.
Mandy's our explorer. We'll let her go first.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh,
No, well, I've got friends that have the Explorer part covered. We'll go into that next time. But it's
okay.
definitely interesting and
Let's.
good
Yeah,
stuff.
honestly, I'd like to hear what happens if you try it. It would be interesting. Like comparing ozone and suffocation to Brown's gas and suffocation. Just don't light a match. Uh,
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to put links in the video description for anyone who's interested in the biohacker, the H2 biohacker site. This is Ben's website. He's the owner operator of the Brown's gas generator for the H2 Genesis. You can find him at this website, and you can find me. I'm the guy that does the Tinkers Academy. I've got a Brown's gas page of the different videos I've done that cover Brown's gas. And last but not least, I just want to say that we're having, there's that sale. So right now, if anybody's interested, it's not trying to do a pitch or anything, but bottom line, there's a discount. So that's what I want to make sure everybody understands is that we've got a discount if you use this K Elmer discount. to get a Brown's gas generator from Ben at this time, you can save $100. So it's good till the end of February if anyone's interested in wanting to give this a try. We also got C60, but you know,
One
Brown's.
last thing, Kay.
Yeah.
Added to that, anyone that uses your code this month or the month of February, our family has a small coffee farm. I roast it myself. You know, grow it, roast it, pick it, everything.
Costa Rica
I
coffee.
sent some back to the U.S. recently, so anyone that orders this month will get a free bag of coffee if they want. You know, just mention that, send me an email, and we'll
Maybe.
include that with your order if you want to try it.
Perk my interest, coffee. All right. So any final words? Just
Thanks so
That's
much,
it.
guys.
thanks, Mandy, for joining. Thanks, B. Palmer and Emma. Thank you so much for joining. This has been a great chat, and we're going to do this again, and I'm looking forward to it. So, aloha, everyone. Thank you so much. Ben, you want to stay on the line, and I'm just going to end the recording now. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for participating. Aloha.